Before Linda Randall speaks out against Gaither, they have collaborated for many years. The powerful stage presence and mesmerizing vocals of Linda Randall and the poignant performances of Gaither are their respective claims to fame. Unfortunately, not everything went according to plan when these two famous musicians joined forces. In the next episode, you will learn shocking details about the private lives of Bill Gaither and Linda Randall. Both of them were just starting out in the music industry when they began their journey. The impact of their relationship was greater than either of them had anticipated. In the early 2000s, they finally met after years of creating music independently. In more intimate venues, Gaither's soulful, deep voice and endearing personality had already brought him fame. His legion of devoted admirers was formidable. Randall, in contrast, was gaining fans with her powerful performances that captivated with a blend of gospel, blues, and soul. Gaither and Linda Randall were very much inseparable at one point. On and off stage, their collaboration exemplified unity and their music was enchanting. Their exceptional talent was on full display during their debut performance together. After years of collaborating, they became more than just collaborators. They trusted and became friends. Many in the industry held them in high esteem, and they were adored by their fans. The entertainment industry is full of stories where anything can happen at any moment. The impact of that instant, which Gaither was oblivious to at the time, would reverberate for years to come. A low-key manner it started, several subtle alterations that went unnoticed at first. Gaither, who was once famously carefree and entertaining, began to distance himself. Greeting fans after performances was no longer his top priority. Less and less often did his once bright smile appear. As he always had, he began to emotionally distance himself from Linda. Linda attempted to downplay the significance of the changes by blaming their hectic schedule. Those closest to him, however, eventually realized that something more serious was occurring. Although Gaither had always kept to himself, he appeared to be growing even more reclusive, to the point where he was difficult to identify at times. Even though she was always by his side, Linda noticed a change as well. Teammates bemoaned the fact that Gaither was preoccupied with issues outside of work and not prepared to deal with them. Many others worried that they were suffering from the emotional toll of their celebrity status. Everyone knew and loved Gaither, but something was different about him, and no one could put their finger on it. The culmination of events occurred during a live performance on a particularly dreadful night. The audience witnessed an unexpected turn of events. The audience was taken aback when Gaither did something unexpected during a performance. He kissed another man on stage. It was a powerful yet brief moment, and people reacted instantly. Nobody in the audience knew what to say, so they remained silent. As a result, some individuals applauded, while others were speechless. As if paralyzed with uncertainty, Linda did nothing. She struggled to make a decision: continue singing, explain what had transpired, or immediately exit the stage and speak with Gaither. You could feel the tension and change in mood even though the music persisted. Linda was left to field questions from the press as Gaither hurriedly made his way downstairs following the show. Following that, an unexplained hush fell over the group as they pondered their next move. After witnessing the kiss, a number of reporters approached Linda, curious to hear her thoughts on the matter. It was non-existent for her. "I had no idea what was going on last night. I need to think about this." She was at a loss for words to express her feelings of bewilderment, anger, and shock. However, she was aware that this would not disappear without her intervention. Something significant had changed, and that something would alter everything. The story was quickly covered by the news. Many people speculated about Gaither's private life and labeled the shocking event a scandal in the media. Conversely, nobody knew exactly what to say. While some media outlets painted it as a publicity stunt, others saw it as an opportunity for introspection. Others were of the opinion that it revealed Gaither's hidden struggles. Not helping matters was Gaither's public silence and refusal to discuss what had transpired. Apologies, interviews, or remarks were non-existent. Nothing but silence. His social media followers, who were once his most ardent advocates, were informed nothing. Linda, too, was abandoned. What had happened had left her bewildered. Why did Gaither act the way he did? She had no idea. Perhaps there were aspects of his life that remained unknown to her. She could do nothing more than support him for the time being. However, an unusual silence ensued in the weeks that followed. Even when Linda extended a hand to Gaither, he remained motionless. He appeared distant and changed from the man she had worked with for a long time. In the field, the pressure was building. Many fans were confused, if not outright angry, and demanded explanations. Speculation and anecdotes multiplied. Did it foreshadow a more serious identity crisis? Was he simply tired of being observed, or was he involved in some secret activity? The media, as usual, covered it extensively and couldn't stop talking about it. The end of Gaither's career was even considered by some. An event that might ruin a long-established reputation seemed to be about to take place. Concerned about it, Linda felt awful. Even though Gaither had gone from obscurity to fame, she now felt as though she was witnessing his collapse before her very eyes. She knew something had to give, but what it was remained a mystery to her. She had always been his rock, but this was a whole new ballgame. The focus had shifted beyond music. Something about Gaither's journey remained a mystery to everyone. In the months that followed, Linda and Gaither's romance deteriorated. They began to withdraw socially and communicate less and less with one another. Linda couldn't help but question whether she had failed to notice any indications that Gaither was experiencing difficulties, as their once smooth partnership had now become tense. Was this simply a moment of introspection? He wasn't comfortable sharing if he wasn't trying to convey anything to her. But Gaither remained silent and would not utter a word in public. It appeared like his career was coming to an end when he disappeared from public view entirely. Even his once enthusiastic supporters were left with more questions than answers. Why was this shift implemented so abruptly? That's why he treaded on such delicate territory. For his future, what did it imply? Everything changed for Gaither, professionally and personally, the moment he kissed the woman on stage. While the public and media continued to speculate, the truth remained elusive. Without a doubt, nothing would ever be the same again. His associates and the music industry as a whole were left to lick their wounds. They had no idea how this incident would affect Gaither's career or whether he would ever be the same. The evening began in the same way as any other, with yet another stage show, dazzling lights, and an eager audience. As always, Gaither stepped into the limelight prepared to wow the audience. The music started, and it was banging along. A million times before he had done it. The moment he picked up the microphone, his charisma illuminated the audience and his voice soared above them like a solo instrument. He was accompanied by his friend Lynda Randle. The enchantment that had defined their relationship for years was created when her voice harmonized with his, and she was constantly by his side. That night, though, something seemed different. Gaither did something unexpected as the song was building to its climax. As the song was reaching its peak, he unexpectedly leant over and kissed another man on stage, a swift yet powerful kiss. It had nothing to do with the dance and had not been prepared for. It was sincere, unanticipated, and personal. It was difficult to gauge the precise sentiment of the audience, but they responded immediately. Some were startled into silence, while others gasped and even cheered. It seemed like something was missing from the performance at one point. The first person to realize what had transpired was Linda, who stood beside Gaither. Her expression turned expressionless for an instant as her astonishment filled her eyes. This was her first encounter with Gaither's extraordinary stage presence, which included powerful performances, dramatic gestures, and moments of audience connection. It wasn't easy, but she attempted to remain composed and maintain her singing energy as the song progressed. Feeling the tension in the air was easy to do. Despite her many inquiries, she remained raptly engaged in the program. The music was no longer the only thing. No one in the audience or on stage could make sense of the transformation. The kiss may have been brief, but its impact would be far-reaching. In that split second, the room's energy shifted from joy to bewilderment, as if time had stood still. Gaither abruptly pulled away as the final chords of the song echoed, failing to provide any context or explanation for his actions. He abruptly departed from the stage, leaving Linda and the team to determine the cause of the incident. Many were confused about whether they should pursue him or not. When the rest of the performers fell silent, Linda did the only thing that came to mind. She completed the song. Backstage, everything was in disarray. Because of what had just transpired, the band, which was usually very in sync, became discordant. Team members and roadies exchanged anxious glances as they were at a loss for words. It was obvious that something major had happened recently and could not be escaped. Then what? Guess what? Nobody had a clue. Even Linda, who had worked with Gaither for many years, gone on numerous trips, shared many laughs, and celebrated many successes with him, did not anticipate it. Their interaction style shifted in an instant. The kiss was quickly covered by the media. Many people took to social media to speculate, ask questions, and share their ideas. Views of the event were shared and rewatched by fans. While some were elated for them, others were perplexed and even furious. Was this an advertisement, a message, or an admission of some kind? It looked like there were a lot of choices. Gaither had obviously just crossed a boundary, though. There was a line in his life, his career, and the way he had developed his personality that had nothing to do with his performance. For him and everyone else around him, that one kiss was the catalyst that set everything in motion. The events that followed were a complete haze to Linda. She struggled to make sense of what had transpired. Even though she had known Gaither for a long time, it was as if she had never seen him before at that moment. What she saw left her uncertain. Something she wasn't prepared to face became clear to her during the kiss. I don't understand. Did it portend a greater significance? For all this time, had something been slipping her mind? No matter how many questions she asked, the answers eluded her. She was prepared for the constant scrutiny from the media, the demands of her fans, and those in the music industry. In any case, what would she say? How could she behave? The following day, headlines such as "Gaither kisses man on stage," "Fans are stunned by the moment," and "The kiss that rocked the music world" dominated the news. Every piece offered a new theory and was rife with speculation. Some saw it as a demonstration of defiance and independence. To some, it was an astonishing betrayal of the reputation he had laboriously built. His every move was scrutinized by the media, who refused to let up. During the subsequent days, Gaither remained silent. In addition to avoiding any interaction with the media, he remained silent regarding the kiss and the remark, "No one could fill the void that his silence created," even though it spoke volumes. Similarly, Linda had no idea what was happening. Whenever she attempted to communicate with Gaither, he appeared more distant and unresponsive than before. How to approach him was a mystery to her. How would she respond? In the face of such a bizarre occurrence, what could one possibly say? After years of working together, she had experienced both his successes and his failures. Her fear of losing him intensified at this moment. Things about him seemed different, but she had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. The man she had known and collaborated with had become an enigma, and it shattered her heart. A great deal of anxiety pervaded the subsequent weeks. Despite the lack of stage chemistry, the tour continued. They could always feel it in Linda's body. They were separated by an invisible barrier that neither of them knew how to traverse. The mysteries persisted, and fans continued to speculate. What was Gaither's motivation? Was there any thought process behind your decision, or did you just act on impulse? Did it portend for their careers, Linda's future and his own? They were punished by the silence. No one, not even the reporters, was going to give him a pass. "I made a mistake. I don't know what came over me. I'm sorry for the confusion and the hurt I've caused," he finally said, after enduring a great deal of pressure. On the other hand, it felt unreal. It failed to address the concerns voiced by all parties. Neither a conclusion nor an explanation of why were provided. As a result, the queries persisted. Following the onstage kiss, everything had changed, but they still hadn't uncovered the truth. The music industry was not spared the miscommunication, heartache, and distrust that began in that split second. Everyone from fans to co-workers to Linda herself had to face the facts and try to make sense of what had transpired. Gaither continued to remain silent. He was the one the music industry had been waiting for to step up, explain, and put things right. At the end of the day, Gaither's stage kiss will remain a mysterious, incomprehensible moment in history. The days following Gaither's onstage kiss felt like peace after a storm, even though everyone knew it wasn't the end of the storm. As ripple effects from that one moment became apparent, the entire world watched with rapt attention. As Gaither's friends and admirers attempted to make sense of what had transpired, one question kept popping up. Why did Gaither do it? There was more than just a kiss that night. Loyalty, trust, and the difficulty of maintaining an individual life in a public setting were the central themes. Throughout his career, Gaither has been well known for his charismatic stage presence and his ability to immerse audiences in his music. He had painstakingly crafted a persona for himself over the years, portraying himself as a diligent and ambitious singer. Unfortunately, the picture was starting to fall apart. It was too much for many of their music industry colleagues to handle. The long-term band members made an effort to maintain the same level of professionalism they always had, but after the kiss, they began to treat Gaither very differently. They acted as if something was wrong because they couldn't shake the feeling. What had previously been unadulterated and controversy-free music now sounded heavy and tense beyond description. The media were the most vocal after the incident. Every possible angle of the event was covered by news outlets around the clock. Opinions varied as to whether Gaither's kiss was an act or a deeper indication of his personal issues. In that split second, I couldn't tell if it was a rebellion or a plea for assistance. Was it evidence that the pressures of fame had finally gotten to her? It appeared like the media was more concerned with creating a story than understanding the motivation behind the action, much like birds swooping overhead. The headlines included public outrage over Gaither's kiss and a bold move or a cry for attention, among others. Everyone was speculating about his career, personal life, and future in relation to the kiss. The media, however, did not limit themselves to covering the kiss. They also investigated Gaither's previous remarks, peer relationships, and fan interactions. Before long, they began to construct an idealized portrait of the long-hidden man. The ideal artist, the ideal role model, and the ideal guy. Someone who had put so much effort into projecting an ideal image could pull off something so shocking, right? Was it an indication of deceit? Would listeners have faith in the musician? Concurrently, Gaither's family was going through a difficult period. They had been so pleased by his meteoric climb to stardom, but now they felt bewildered and wounded. When he was younger, they witnessed their son struggle for acceptance and fame. Now that he had fallen publicly, they had been there for him through the good times and the bad. It was all a mystery to them. Because they didn't communicate and his secret activities remained hidden, his supportive sister felt betrayed. After that one kiss, everything that happened shocked the family. Little did anyone anticipate that it would shatter the life they had labored so hard to create. When Linda first heard about it, she attempted to downplay its significance. After the smoke settled, she was certain that this was an isolated incident and that everything would return to normal. However, she began to experience its impacts as the media storm continued. Whenever Gaither needed someone to lean on, he had someone there. This, however, was different. Standing next to what exactly was a mystery to her, the trust that had been established over the years started to cause them concern. Had the person who she believed to be her acquaintance also kissed another performer on stage? Her marriage, her role in his work, and her place in the world all began to ring hollow, and she began to question her ability to provide satisfactory answers. However, there was a schism among the general population. A number of Gaither's supporters came to his defense, praising his actions as a courageous display of individuality. Some of Gaither's admirers were horrified and confused about the man they saw and couldn't make the connection. On social media, people were exchanging supportive messages and accusations of betrayal. Some of his friends took to social media to defend him, exposing the hypocrites who believed public figures should constantly be flawless. On the flip side, some were taken aback and claimed that the kiss shattered their perception of Gaither. How could someone who always set a good example abruptly transform into someone they had never met before? His songs and story meant a lot to them, and now they felt betrayed and can't get over it. The naysayers would not cease. Some famous movie stars spoke out in favor of the cause, while others were strongly against it. Those musicians who had collaborated with Gaither were cautious in their statements. Some were kind and expressed concern for his well-being, while others were more forthright and demanded to know his motivations. Within the industry, speculation began regarding his future prospects in light of this. Could he continue to play? Are his friends still going to support him? Was this the end of Gaither's career, or was there hope for a comeback? The outcome was far-reaching. Even though Gaither's job was doing well before, it seemed like it might stay that way. Fewer concerts were held and record sales started to decline. The music industry had seen its fair share of incidents prior to this one, but something about this one seemed off. What happened here wasn't merely an unfortunate public relations stunt. The cornerstone of Gaither's success was establishing trust through honesty. In the corporate world, there were additional rumblings. Was he telling the truth? Had his entire professional life been based on flawed assumptions? Did the world's inability to forgive him truly hurt him, or was he just trying to use his fame to get what he wanted? As the weeks passed, Gaither's silence only served to heighten the air of mystery. He avoided directly addressing the mounting concerns by not apologizing or providing an explanation. When he refused to speak, the media and fans were expecting answers. Instead, he just raised more questions. Did he intend for this to be a mistake, or does he genuinely believe it is? Why didn't he take responsibility if he messed up? The consequences of that kiss were evidently not going away anytime soon. After this, people's perceptions of Gaither would change drastically. The story had piqued the interest of many, but now it appeared tragic, serving as a cautionary tale about how a single incident can destroy a person's reputation.